I am Ricardo Rodriguez. Welcome to Season 3 of Tequila Chats. For our first episode, I'm so excited to welcome our first guest, Christopher Peacock. Christopher is world-renowned. He's a rock star in the luxury kitchen design world. His portfolio is as impressive as his roster of clients, from presidents to celebrities, and so I look forward to his insights. Christopher, thank you very much for agreeing to be your first guest of the third season. It's been a long time wanting to meet you, and so thank you very much for your time.
It's great to be here. It's great to meet you also, Ricardo.
No, and it's great to be on your gorgeous, brand new showroom here in Boston.
Yes,
and so I am now planning on what I'm going to do in
Good.
my house next. So
that's the idea.
I'll be calling you soon.
Yeah.
And so thank you again. What do you think of this tequila?
Well, considering it's the first thing in my stomach today.
Oh, well.
It's actually
that is
delicious.
the way to do it, yes. Cheers
so
to
I'm
you.
getting the full benefit of it.
You know, it's a gift actually from
very,
Billy.
very good.
It's good, right? It's a beautiful classy azul, yes.
It's so smooth.
You could.
The problem is I may drink too much of it.
No, there is no such a thing with tequila. And so if you need more, just let me know.
I will.
I'll lean and I'll get you some
it's
more.
good. It's good.
No, but again, very excited to be having a conversation with you. I know, and I think that our audience, if you're not familiar with Christopher's work, I don't know where you've been. Seriously, for over 3 decades right now, you really have been at the top of your game, and certainly at the cutting edge of developing some of the most beautiful kitchen, bathroom, library cabinetry in the world. And so it's it's an incredible accomplishment. I am one who believes that where you come from, like your early years, like your early experiences, really inform what you do with your life. Where does Christopher Peacock comes from? What is that? What are those early years of your life look like, and how do you think that they impacted your decision?
It's funny. So I agree with that, but I didn't really realize that until much later on in life. Mm-hmm. I think as a younger man, you don't necessarily think back so much on your life, and you tend to always look forward. But as I've matured, let's say, I realize more and more that I'm so much a product of my upbringing and the environment that I grew up in. So I was born in England and lived in England until I was 27. My mother was in the television industry. She was a TV producer. Okay. So quite creative. Yeah. She had a very good eye. She loved interiors. So I was surrounded by that influence. And my father was in construction. He was sort of a classic story of a guy who went to work when he was 14 years of age as an apprentice, in kind of just at the end of wartime London, and then grew up in the construction industry. And by the time he finished his career, he was the director of a very large building firm in the city of London. So I grew up with these two influences. My father would take me to construction sites from a young age and show me around. And so I was familiar with that process. And my mother was very creative and quite a dynamic lady. And those two things I realize now informed me in many ways.
So it was almost like it was meant to be in some ways when
in
you
a
think
way.
about it.
Right? I will tell you, I didn't have any ambition to be doing what I'm doing. It was the farthest thing from my mind. I kind of fell into this business. As I've told this story many times, but I was trying to be a professional musician. I play drums, and I thought, at 19, 20, 21 years of age, I thought I was going to be a rock star, which didn't happen. But through that, I was introduced to a family friend who had asked. They knew I was broke. I didn't have any money, and they had said, "Did I want to come and drive the delivery truck of this kitchen cabinet company at weekends, so I could earn extra money during the day?" Yeah, and that's literally how I got into this.
So that's how kitchens. Because I was going to ask you how from all of the areas in design and construction, why kitchen? So this is really kind of like the
that's
genesis
how I got into it. So I wasn't looking for it, but I was introduced to this world of design and cabinetry and the making of cabinetry. Yeah. And I've always been a kid, I was a kid who loved to draw. I did pottery. I loved to paint. And so I was always expressing myself artistically. Yeah. And so I just found that world of design very easy and very natural to me. And so really more by luck than judgment, I ended up in that business in the UK. And that led me to sort of work for better companies and higher end products and those things.
Yes.
And that's actually what brought me to the US. And in fact, to Boston originally.
Yeah, because you came straight from London to Boston.
Right to Boston,
in the 80s, right?
In 1987. So long time
that's
ago.
a little while.
So that's actually how I got into it.
Yeah. You know, I have a similar experience with you. I come more from a art background. Like my entire family are musicians, and so I was a terrible musician, but I ended up with kind of like the acting bug, and I thought that I was going to be just like you were going to be a rock star. Although I kind of like disagree. I think you were a rock star on your own, in your world. But I wanted to be a movie star, and I ended up doing real estate. But I found that almost like a similar language. There's a story, at least for me, there's a storytelling that comes with acting that I found a voice in real estate. And so when I look at my real estate business, it's a storytelling. There's something about it.
There's a lot of parallels.
Yes.
And I can relate to that because we talk about this internally as a company about really what we're doing here is we are putting on a show. I mean, what we do is very real and very valid, but we're creating a story and we hope that people like it. Right?
Yes,
Yeah.
So you started telling your own story with your eponymous, company in 1992, right?
92, yeah.
And so it's been now a little bit over 2 decades of
being
kind of like the center
of
it.
So I, again, it's sort of, that moment came a little bit out of frustration. I was working for some very good companies and really getting good training and learned a lot. But I've always been somebody who thinks they can do it better, I guess.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
Or, think that there was an opportunity that wasn't being taken. And so I was 32 years of age. It was 1992. And I was like, I'm going to do this for myself.
Yes.
And we'll see where it goes. And at the time, I didn't have aspirations to grow a company to the level that we have. It was really more to just have the ability to control the process one project at a time.
Yes.
And hopefully put some food on the table while I was doing
that.
Yes. I mean, that was really the driving factor for me. And so it felt very organic to me. It felt very natural. And I think sort of going back to my upbringing, my father showed me that, if something needed fixing in the house or if my mother wanted a piece of furniture, he would find a way to make it or get it done. And so that sort of gave me this intuition of, well, everything's achievable if you just do it.
You can do everything that you
just have to do it.
Yes.
And so I've always had that mindset.
So as you were building the company, do you recall that moment in which you were like, okay, I made, or that tipping point? Like I know in my career, there are certain things that I'm like, I've had several of those, right? It's not just one. Yeah. But I remember the first tipping point. At what point that came for you?
I mean, I think I have two answers for that. One is that I still don't think I've made it, and that
is a good thing. Right?
Honestly, I don't. I mean, I've never been one that's been focused on that moment either. I mean, to me, it's like every day I get up and I think, we could be doing something better. We could be doing something differently. We need to evolve. There's all of these things. So that's just naturally within me.
Yes.
So I'm not one to rest on my laurels, as they say.
Yeah.
But as you've asked that, something comes to mind, and I'm not name dropping, but this was a big moment for me. I got hired by Bill and Hillary Clinton.
Okay.
To design originally a kitchen for their house in Chappaqua, New York. Okay. They had just moved. She was state senator. He had just finished his presidency, and they moved to Westchester, Westchester, New York, and through a mutual contact. With an architect, I was introduced to them.
Yes.
And that was a big moment. I remember I had to go to their house and meet them on a Saturday. And, as I was driving over to their house and going through security and driving up to the front door and literally knocking on the door.
Yeah.
That was kind of like, that was the moment I thought, holy moly.
Yes, like what is going on? Yes,
here?
What is going on?
And I didn't know what to expect. And that actually became a long-term relationship with him on a design level. And I ended up doing, I think, 13 rooms of cabinetry for them.
Really? Oh, wow.
And putting politics to one side a second, they were very gracious, very informed, very
Yes.
smart people
Yes.
who enjoyed the process and hadn't done it before themselves. So it was a really good experience for me.
Yes.
And I sort of had to pinch myself a little bit. It's like, wow, this is really happening.
Yeah.
And so that was probably the moment where it hit me that I might be onto something.
That your
here.
business changed, and now you're looking at a completely
to be
yes,
considered for a project like that.
Yes.
And it sort of rolled from there, to be honest with you.
But you mentioned earlier the role of kind of like innovation, right? And what do you feel is the role of innovation in your success?
I like to think of myself as a practical designer. There are lots of opportunities to develop ideas for the sake of developing an idea. But I am always sort of critical of gadgetry and of things that I think are there for the moment rather than for the reality of use. When we're designing cabinetry for a room, and we design cabinetry for every room in the house, we have to think about its application and its use and the reality of that. Just because you fill a kitchen with gadgets, it doesn't mean that they all work or that they're going to stand the test of time.
Yes.
And that they actually benefit you.
Yes.
So I'm a great believer in sort of the old school. Let's try it. Let's test it. Let's see if it's really worth it.
Yes.
So for me, innovation is about making things better.
Yes.
Making things work, and making sure that we need them.
Yes.
We don't always need everything that we see, and they won't stand the test of time. So that's how I think of innovation.
Because I've heard I've read some interviews that you've given, and you talked about that you design, in the case of a kitchen, you design kitchens for life. You're not designing kitchen for a trend, but for life. And so I think this speaks to what you're saying right now.
Very much so. I mean, we obviously we want our product to be appealing visually. And we know that we can't please all of the people all of the time. And that's never been my goal. Yeah. I'm quite selfish in that regard, in that I need to like it, and it comes from me, right? Yes. And it comes from wherever my design sensibility comes from. That's what I tap into, and it's certainly growing up in England. Yeah. There's a lot of sort of scale and proportion things that I tap into. So I think of it as furniture. I don't think of it as modular cabinetry. Yes. And if we're going to, if I'm going to, first of all, my name's on every cabinet, right?
Yes. So you have to like it. You have to, yes.
And it's got to work, because it's one thing to put yourself out there, but it's another thing to put yourself out there if it doesn't work well. Yes. So it kind of that keeps me honest every day.
No, I hear you.
So in that sense, when we build a piece of cabinetry, I want it to last forever, and I want it to be they're expensive, they're well made, and they should last forever. For as long as somebody likes to have them and use them, they should be there ready to work.
I do have a similar experience to you in my own business. A good percentage of what I do and with the team that we do is new construction, and so we work with a lot of real estate developers, and because of that we work with their architects, with interior designers, and so I've always said that I have to like the building that I'm about to sell, and so I want to be on the process from the beginning, and so I completely understand kind of like what you were saying, but I also believe that unless there's a purpose to what we're building, unless we're building for people or we're building our boxes made out of whatever material those are.
That is great to hear, because we very much are of the same approach. It's like, there's got to be a reason that we do this, and there's a responsibility attached to what we do, I think. And
we're building for living, not just to build.
Exactly. Right? That's exactly it.
Yeah.
Agreed.
And so when you're looking at your success and your many accomplishments, what are you the most proud of?
Honestly, the reputation that we have as a company, and that's not down to me. That's down to the, 150 plus employees that we have. Believe me, I'm not doing the real hard work is everybody else. I mean, I may have come up with a good idea. Yeah. Not always a good idea, by the way. Yeah. But I'm very proud of the people that I get to work with, and to see what we've accomplished together.
Yeah, no, that's incredible. I think we talked earlier today about, earlier this year, some of my health issues, and I actually, it became so clear to me that I'm only as good as my team is, and that they
Absolutely.
made me not only just so proud, but they really, enhance what I do and enhance my life personally and professionally.
Yeah, I think we agree on that for sure. Yeah.
And so, we're very good at talking about, the good things, the bright things, the shiny things. Not often we talk about, the struggles and the issues. Are there, in your process of building what you have right now, are there any moments in terms of identifying a struggle, or I don't want to call them failures, let's just call them struggles.
Yeah.
Any struggles for you that have kind of like helped you redefine what you do and how you approach your business?
I can think of
what have you learned from that?
I mean, growing a business is a very challenging, very difficult thing to do. And it is probably more difficult than it's ever easy. As the owner of the company, you carry the weight of all of that on your shoulders 24 hours a day, right? And it's kind of what you sign up for.
Yeah.
So I think that the daily challenges of managing process, managing people, managing expectations is really hard. And I have had many failures. Certainly in the earlier years, there were many years where I was like, are we going to make it?
Yes.
And it's one thing to have a vision, but you've got to somehow make sure that you have the money in the bank to pay people
exactly.
and do all of those
things. You can
things.
operate, yes.
Yeah, and my wife and I own this company. We've never had sort of outside investment, and we've chosen to do that, to carry it ourselves. So there's a lot that goes with that. There was a point back in 2008. I was approached by a British cabinet company, and they actually asked to buy me, and I sold them the company, and it was a very wonderful moment for me in that I was going to continue on, and this partnership, if you like, was going to allow me to really do so much more, and I thought it was a wonderful thing. But it was in 2008, and literally a month after I sold the company, the company I sold it to went out of business because they were a UK-based company, and it was the crash. The crash happened.
Yes.
And that was a very, very difficult time for me for a couple of reasons. One, because people thought that my company failed, and it didn't. The company I sold it to failed, and we were taken down in the fall of that. But it was a very personal thing for me because I had staff and I had clients, and everybody was kind of freaking out, and the world was crashing.
Yes.
And I had an opportunity then to just walk away, quite frankly, because it wasn't my problem. But I chose not to do that. So I actually spent the next 6 months going through this process of essentially acquiring the company back. And people thought I was nuts at the time. It's like, why are you doing this? And it's because it was unfinished business for me.
Yes.
I owed a lot to the people I work with, and to our clients, and to myself, because I have this vision.
This is your
baby.
Is my baby. Yeah.
And so actually I bought it back, and that was whatever that was, however many years ago that was now, probably, I don't know, 16 years ago.
Yes.
And we are bigger, stronger, better than we've ever been by a long way now.
Yes. Yeah.
So I look back on that as kind of a fail, but a success all rolled into one.
But I feel like it was you understanding the value of not just of the company, but of what you were doing. Like the significance of what you're doing to the people that work for you and the people that you provide the services to. And I think that is sometimes where we get lost. We get lost on the numbers and crunching up the spreadsheets, and we don't realize that a lot of the business that we are doing is about the people that we are engaging.
Yeah, it was just too important to me. Yeah. And I literally sort of, reinvested everything back into this business.
Yeah.
With this singular belief that it was worth doing and it was something special.
You could have just walked away.
Right. And I've never, ever thought a second about that.
Well, cheers to you.
So
congratulations.
That's a good thing. Cheers for that.
For sure.
So here we are. Yeah.
And so as you continue to interact with, with your clients, with your employees, with your team, and I'm always curious about this because I do have some very strong opinions about it, but what do you think is your major business pet peeve?
Pet peeve? Oh, that's a good one. People let me down. At least I feel that it can be very difficult sometimes. I mean, we have a very genuine story and a very genuine approach to doing business. We're very transparent it's pretty straightforward what our brief is, what we're trying to do. And it can be quite challenging. I mean, the home industry is a challenging business, and we're very fortunate in that, over 30 years, the caliber of clients and the kind of projects that we work on has increased dramatically.
Yeah.
And I think managing people's expectations, sometimes very unrealistic expectations.
Well, you work with like presidents, celebrities.
We do, and that's probably the most difficult part of what we do, because we genuinely work really hard to make our clients happy.
Yeah.
No matter what, they are up front and center for us, and we so want to do a good job.
Yes.
And sometimes it's a challenging environment working within the industry to sort of to show that, because there are many factors outside.
Yeah, plus you're working with all these teams outside. It's not just you and the client. Is whoever interior designer they're working with, or architects, or
exactly. And it's a collaborative process.
Yes.
And I will say, from the trade side of things, most of the time it's really a pleasure. We're lucky in that we get to collaborate with so many talented people.
Yeah.
And it's joyful. I mean, we really enjoy that process very much, But sometimes it's not easy.
Oh, yes.
So that's probably my pet peeve.
And so as you look at your entire career and all your accomplishments, what would you say is the key to success?
Probably not thinking that you're successful for me. Yeah. Like I said to you, I'm not trying to sound humble. I genuinely get up every morning in a panic and think, okay, what do I need to do today? And that we haven't even scratched the surface. There's so much more that we want to do, will do, and can do. I think that if you lose that, then you've lost the plot at that point. You can't have that. So I think the net result of that, hopefully, is a level of whatever the metric is of success. Yeah. But I don't walk around thinking, "Hey, I'm successful." I think
you can't believe your own press.
Yeah, we've got so much more to do,
yes.
and we're only as good as our last project. I mean, that's literally how we think.
Well, you are incredible. You are as wonderful as your beautiful creations. And so thank you very much for your time.
It's a pleasure. Thank you, Ricardo. I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you. And thank you for watching. I hope that you enjoyed Christopher's insights and expertise as much as I did. You learned a lot from this, and so I look forward to seeing you next week for the next episode. Salud.